Hi, this is Sam Michelle. Um, I wanted to recover something that's important to me that, what do you call it, I don't want to keep doing. Let's put it like that. Um, Fixing things, fixing people's lives. Why does Salvatore, me, why does he think that he's got to fix things all the time? And, um, that idea, that notion assumes that people's lives or something is broken, and you know and maybe it's not. I know a gentleman who's also homeless, and I'm not saying they're happy being homeless, but the thing is, what if they're happy as they are? What if they're happy as they are? Because Salvatore's like, this whole time I've known him, uh, over these last couple of years, he stayed pretty much the same person. Um, uh, there was a time when I was watching and trying to figure out if that person is an alcoholic like me. Um, uh, but I mean, I'm not drinking right now because I choose not to. But typically when I drink, I call it self-medicating. I got some excuse anyways, at least superficially. That gentleman, I don't, I like today. I just saw the gentleman, and I don't know if they had been drinking last night or not. And it's really up to them, right? Or him. Um, People have been partying these last few days because they can. They get paid to vote. To encourage them to vote, which is a real positive thing from an American point of view. But the way it works out is typically the new candidate, however they get it financed, they try to get them to vote for them, and so they have incentive. They have incentive to vote, and they have incentive to vote for that candidate, called money. And in America, it's what do you call it? It's a forbidden thing. It's not just a crime. It's a sin. Because Americans look at it, what do you call it, as obligatory. We feel like you got to vote, as your duty, your civic duty. The thing is, the way they do it here, that's just their system. And Americans shouldn't come here and judge the way Salvatore has, and say it's like, well, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. It's just the way things are here. It's just the way things are. And my acquaintance that drinks periodically, not all continuously, not all day, not all. Come on, he's fucking homeless, man. He's homeless. Why wouldn't he drink? Why wouldn't he drink? And his current place to sleep is at a family crypt. Um, so I mean, you know, um, and I suppose it's quote unquote natural for Salvatore as an American to um, to look and judge unconsciously. But I don't want to be like that, man. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. How can I really learn about a culture, like a so-called wannabe anthropologist? How can I learn about a culture if I got all these judgments, or what do you call it, judgmentalness, judgmental perspectives, following me around like, a legion of demons. Um, so, you know, This type of attitude that Salvatore has, you got to fix things, you judge things automatically, because what, you're an American, and then you can, and you think you're coming from a moral high ground, as an American. I mean, I'm talking with myself, obviously. The thing is, man, I used to believe, I used to believe from the following perspective, and I still do, just with a different, framing, a different way to say it. But I want to say it the way I used to say it because it makes more sense to people. God didn't put us on this planet, man, for that. God didn't put us on this planet for that, man. God didn't put us on this planet for Salvatore to run a walk, every chance he gets to fix people's lives when they're not broken in the first place. And he certainly didn't put Salvatore on this planet to judge people, okay? When they typically, they judge themselves, they judge each other, they don't need Salvatore, waltzing in and judging with his eyes. They just don't, man. They don't. Nobody does. Not the Filipinos, not anybody, man. So, I could say, I want to tell a little story, just a little one. I lost my license recently, my driver's license, my Philippine driver's license, and you could say it was based on a misunderstanding. I mean, to be kind, and I don't think they, had any, agenda about it. I don't think they had like an idea to sell it or whatever. I don't. You'd have to look like the person, right, to be able to use it. And I look pretty weird, so yeah, especially with my current mohawk. What's the point? I spent a long time after that, like, why did that happen to me, and why did they have to do that to me, and when I think they were just after the money that was in the coin purse, not necessarily the license. The thing is, if they presented the license, it'd be like confessing that they took the money, so it's a catch-22 in terms of, obviously never going to get my license back, because that would mean that they would, so get this, I mean, I don't know about, maybe punish or give back what they gave. And this is the only time in the Philippines that I ever did any kind of, violence, is I killed the chicken nearby. And the thing is, in Philippines, typically it's not just a hen. It's a fighting chicken. And the fighting chicken is a family, it's very important for especially the man in the family. He uses that that fighting chicken in the morning with his friends to do practice or mock battles, just early morning practice. At least I observed that in Ginbarokan. So a chicken can be pretty important to a family, especially to the man in the family. And when I did that, I think it was probably way over the license thing. But it was my only way to sort of get back. I hate that idea, the expression eye for an eye. I hate that, because that's just, to me, it's like the ends justify the means, and you just, it can go down a really bad path. Anyways, so after I killed the chicken, it's coming at me like I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. And of course, I felt like he's gonna beat me up or whatever, and he probably had every right to. So the only way for me at that time to sort of disarm the situation was moon them. Yeah. So I pulled down my shorts and mooned them, and It's an American thing, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure the Filipinos would act that way, but um, that uh, I think I turned on the recorder because not to tell stories like that, although it does help a little bit. Show how I react in sort of ridiculous ways, in ways that I feel like I have the only, what do you call it, leeway. Um, I mean, I really needed that license at that time, anyways, to be able to pick up money from my brother. But anyways, you find, what do you call it, in life, you find ways to get around things. So I'm trying my best to be patient about the embassy issue, which is that I'm waiting for the U.S. Embassy to process my, what's it called, reinstatement loan application, and they're waiting on Philippine immigration to process my removal order. It's a little bit more benign than, what do you call it, extradition, like a different name for this, almost the same thing. But it's based on Philippine immigration and my back, what do you call it, back fees, because I've been homeless. How the hell am I supposed to pay residency fees when I'm homeless? So, with no income. So yeah, it's a catch-22 situation. But and I was so despairing. I mean, I was so despairing because I felt like I was, by dark forces. I felt like I was a prisoner here, and I was never going to leave, and and I was supposed to accept that, fate, and I did not want to get into even to the delusional part of it, because I thought, this. I mean, if I tell you the delusional part of it, you're gonna like, this guy is so fucking wacko. Well, I was, man. I was. I felt, at that time, one of my delusions was it's in the American government's best interest to have Salvatore stay in the Philippines forever, like an enemy of the state kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my, I mean now I'm like, you couldn't be more fucking delusional. You couldn't be more fucking delusional, man. So, it's just like Salvatore and his fucking delusions. Salvatore and his fucking delusions, man. So, anyway, for fairly a lot more recently, yeah, I get this. This is also part of his delusional framework. He felt he was an inspector for God to determine whether or not the new denominations in the Philippines were actually doing God's will, and or believed the right way, whatever that means. I visited a number of churches recently, partially because of my interest in religious studies, partially because I was curious about how each denomination expressed or practiced their faith. Most recently there's a mission church in East Peña, which is like a brand new church, and they got a band, and they got singers, and it's just a really, really cool experience from, what do you call it, from a modern Christian point of view. And a Pentecostal church nearby on the highway, closer to the highway, or on the highway actually. Also, they have a band, and typically the pastors are involved. I mean, it's just really cool. I mean, it's just a really cool thing. Especially if you're a Christian, it's just a really, really cool thing. And it's not, when I was in Petoskey, Michigan, where I was in high school, the Catholic Church did a rock and roll service, but it was so loud and so, what do you call it, it just didn't seem to fit. It just didn't seem, the music, I think, was probably, what do you call it, So it was 70s music, so it was rock and roll, and it fit the times, but it was just so freaking loud. I just felt it was like, it didn't seem to match up. I felt it was like, like what do you call that? The expression catering. An old friend of a friend used this expression, playing to the gallery, and yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to tell. They're here in the Philippines. There's a lot more. What do you call it? I mean, when they sing or when they do their music, um, it's a totally different style from American style. At least back in the '70s, anyways. Um, they well, they sing. I believe they sing from their hearts, and it's not a facade, or it's not trying to pull people in because they're trying to appeal to the youth or anything like that. It's just, I mean, these are all, what do you call it? The people in the band or singing. They're all just regular, what do you call it? People within the congregation that they have abilities, so it's just kind of, like whether it's playing guitar or keyboards or singing vocals. Um, like I said, from a Christian perspective, it's just really neat. And even if you're not Christian, um, you can still look at that situation as a very interesting, because what do you call it, like social phenomenon. Um, well, like typically in the daytime, um, not today, but typically in the daytime, you can hear young men playing basketball, because there's a basketball court, multi-purpose basketball court, just west of this room, which is in the basement of the Barangay Hall. And they use that, and when I say it's a multi-purpose thing, it's not just basketball, man. They do volleyball. There's this kick thing that I don't know what the name of it is, but it's just really, really cool, new sport. Like something like kick volleyball. I mean, it's just fascinating. Even for what do you call a non-sports guy like me. Um, yeah, so Philippine people are very, very active. They're very engaged, meaning participating in local stuff all the time. Whether it's a church service. Well, there's also a Baptist. I mean, it's this stuff I know. It's not really obvious right on the highway because they got signs for it on the highway, the Baptist church. But you don't. I mean, I didn't notice it really until a wedding happened there, and that's the first time I got sort of drawn in, just out of curiosity. And every denomination has their, what do you call it, their particular sort of, what do you call it, brand of faith. And one is no, what do you call it, no inferior to the other. Let's put it like that. One is not inferior to another. There's a pamphlet right in front of me from the Seventh-day Adventists, and it's a little complicated, and they're focusing on, what do you call it, end times. And even my friend from the Mission Church, Michael, he mentioned the end times things, but he didn't obsess about it. From my perspective, fortunately, and a little girl gave me a pamphlet, God's provisions and promises. It's part of a series, and the authors. Well, I mean, we can read just a little bit here. Hold on. Just a little bit. It's not gonna crack the windows. So on the inside page, this is just after the cover, it says, "How does God keep his promises? What if we have done our part by believing," in quotes. I'm not sure why they put it in quotes. What if we have done our part by believing, but we haven't seen any results? Is there something we don't understand? Is there something else we need to do just to see God's promises fulfilled? If you are searching for answers of these kinds of questions, I encourage you to read the following pages. In this booklet, Kurt DeHaan, former managing editor of Our Daily Bread, guides us through a study of what the Bible says about the promises of God. Use this material as a starting point for your own discovery of the vast wealth of promises we have been given by a faithful God. Martin R. DeHaan II. Managing editor, David Spur. Scripture quotations are from the New King James Version. This is at the bottom of the page. Copyright 1982 by Thomas Nelson Incorporated. Used by permission, all rights reserved. Copyright 1989, 2002, 2005. RBC Ministries, Grand Rapids, Michigan. There you go. Grand Rapids, Michigan. See, I'm trying to recall, it's automatic for me. Since I saw Michigan, it's like, so where's Grand Rapids, Salvatore? And I can't remember. I know Port Huron's in the west, I think, because I was there a little bit with some friends. Southeast is Detroit, west is Port Huron, going north is Traverse City. I'm not sure where Grand Rapids is, but anyways, yeah, I'm not. I used to be the type of person that would talk a lot about the content of what we just read. I would talk a lot about the content and try to help people interpret it and stuff. I hope I'm not like that anymore, man. I hope I'm not like that anymore, man. I can't, what do you call it, I don't know, man. Yeah, life is too short, man. Life is too short, man. Life is too short, man. Part of the reason I spent so much time on physics recently is because I had spent so much time before on physics, and I felt like if I don't try my best to come to some kind of, terms. Well, most of my life I had spent working on what I call alternative framings or alternative frameworks, and not just in delusional stuff, but physics as well. The thing is, man, to reconcile, if you've got an alternative framework like me, to reconcile that with convention is not an easy task, man. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task, man. I noticed something about Brookhaven data, but I noticed it from an alternative perspective. And it took me a long time, several years, to try to frame it. To try to frame it from a conventional perspective, and even that is just is a single conventional perspective. It's not if I knew more about the experiment or the apparatus, I might have better a different a more variety of conventional explanations. But it shows you how nutty Salvatore can be. It's okay in this context because it's quote unquote just physics, but it also illustrates a point about what I mean by living, not just living, thinking, breathing, delusional frameworks. It's not it shows you how Salvatore has been in other ways, like so-called spiritual stuff. So the Brookhaven data, there's one indicator that something weird is going on. Okay, it's they're trying to create antimatter, but with antitritium, for some reason, it looks like, I mean, according to the investigators anyway, it's not being produced. It's not, according to the investigators that I communicated with some months ago, it is not being produced, what they call the vertex. So, and that means, where in their case, I think heavy ions are being smashed, with opposite momentum, and like lead or gold, and then trying to see what happens. So in this case, instead of looking at pions and mesons and stuff, they're looking at anti-nuclei with respect to nuclei. And it is a symmetric process, except for tritium. So this is the weird part, about antimatter. There's at least two ways to look at it, at least. You could think of it traveling backward in time, which is, somebody proposed that some years back. Because it correlates with Feynman diagrams, and if you know anything about Feynman diagrams, if you follow like vertices and pathways and stuff, a particle that has an arrow in one direction and you follow it like backwards or from the tail end forward or whatever, right? The vertex is going that way and you're going that way, opposite direction, that's right. You got to go into the arrow, right? Yeah, into the arrow means that you're actually looking at an antiparticle. So with Feynman diagrams, logically, it says that antiparticles are traveling backward in time, and that's fine for conventional people because it makes the whole it makes Feynman diagrams make sense, and everybody just accepts it as part of as part of the diagrams and understanding the diagrams and what they mean. But don't ask me how, man. Don't ask me how Salvatore came up with this, but he saw for tritium and antitritium, he saw what the decay rate was. He interpreted it as the decay rate was faster for antiparticles than particles. That was his interpretation of the data. And what that means is what? I mean, if you think about it very carefully, what does that mean or imply? That instead of backward in time, the antiparticles could be traveling forward in time at a faster rate. In other words, possibly related to what Salvatore calls their temporal curvature. And the framework, the framework that he came up with does make sense, and it is possible. But the thing is, we can't know unless we look into it. In the very least, reject the null hypothesis. I mean, in the very least, try to prove that isn't happening. in the very least. So over the years, Salvatore's been trying to come up. You can't. What do you call it? If something is part of science, it's testable, or at least disprovable, right? And so he's been, trying his best to come up with tests of that idea, that antimatter is going forward in time faster than normal matter. So he came. Well, there's a few. They're not really conclusive. It's just a theory. Even if the tests work out that way, there could be other explanations for that. In science, there's always alternative explanations. Always. There's always alternative explanations for things. That's the nature of science. You know, for every scientist, there's an alternative explanation of things. I mean, if they really know what they're doing. So it's like I used to say about psychology. For every what do you call it? I mean, if a psychologist or psychiatrist really enjoys what they're doing, they typically have their own theory about personality and whatnot. Like that one I recently published about about personas within, which it's kind of like a Freudian perspective, but relates to multiple personalities and stuff. Anyways, it's just an idea. So what I was trying to say about, when I took theories of personality at Michigan State University, because that's one of my majors was psychology. There's this thing called Gestalt therapy, and that even that even came up when I was in Ginbarokan. So it's like, the thing is, man, in science, not just psychology, but in science, typically there's many, many, many explanations for a phenomenon or an experiment, and Salvatore is just offering one. Doesn't mean he's right. If he is right, a few things might have to change, to put it mildly. A few things. But I mean, in science, perspectives in science is what I'm referring to. But I may not live long enough. I may not. I want to have a life, man, and especially if I can get back to the States. I don't want to. I don't want to be homeless forever, and I don't want to be stuck in one mode forever. And I certainly do not want to be thinking about physics 100% of the time. So, it's not like I woke up today thinking about physics and thinking like, oh gosh, I wonder if they're ever going to do that experiment, those experiments. It's like, or anything related. It's like, anyway, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, life is too short, man. Life is too short, man. Life is too short. So, well, this is a good day for Salvatore, and that's one reason why I wanted to turn on the recorder is, to sort of document a good day instead of all complaining and whatnot about the recent past or whatever, or anything. You could, there's a lot of, it's just like I was saying, there's, for every situation or every experiment or whatever, there's always alternative explanations. About me and Grace, I don't know, man. I think Salvatore's hopes and dreams and expectations were just totally unrealistic with respect to Grace. I mean, and his previous marriage with Yui. Same kind of thing, man. Same kind of thing. Totally unrealistic expectations and hopes and dreams. Yeah, I don't know, man. Totally unrealistic. Let's see what the recorder's time is. Yeah, that's enough for now. I mean, I could go on and on about anything, but I just wanted to give people a taste, anybody, myself, in the future, you know, that, anyways, that's enough, man. That's enough.